Welcome, gentle listener, and welcome to Sleepy Facts, a quiet corner of the universe where knowledge softens into calm and stories unfold at the rhythm of your breath. Tonight, as the world grows still around you, we drift together into a tale carried across the stars. A tale that asks nothing of you except to rest, to breathe, and to let the night hold you gently as we begin. Somewhere beyond the edges of sunlight, beyond the warm cradle of the planets, a faint traveler has been moving through the dark for longer than memory can measure. It is older than the oceans, older than the mountains, older than every dream humankind has ever dreamed. And only in these recent nights, quiet, unassuming nights, have we learned something new about this visitor. From high above the rust-colored deserts of Mars, a silent spacecraft has been watching, recording a thread of motion so delicate that it could disappear if you blinked too quickly. And yet, it hasn't disappeared. It has revealed something subtle, something unexpected, something that invites us to lean closer and listen more softly. So breathe in slowly and breathe out even slower. Let the long exhale carry you deeper into the quiet, because tonight we follow that distant traveler. Tonight we drift alongside 3I Atlas, the newest wanderer from another star. And our story begins in the space between spaces, the vast, gentle dark, where everything moves like a tide without sound. The vast interstellar medium. Imagine, if you can, a place without walls, without light, without time as we understand it. A place where distance becomes a kind of silence and silence becomes a kind of ocean. This is the interstellar medium, the great expanse that lies between the stars. It is not empty, though it appears so at first. If you drift slowly enough through it, you would find tiny grains of dust, small crystals of ancient ice, and lonely molecules that formed when the universe was still new. They move without haste, gliding through darkness that is softer than velvet and colder than any winter known on Earth. Billions of years pass, yet these particles continue their wandering as though they have all the time in the cosmos, because they do. There are no winds here, no sounds, no tides. Only the faint, endless drifting of matter older than memory. And somewhere within this eternal quiet, a young comet once circled a distant star. Perhaps it formed in the cool outskirts of a newborn system. Perhaps it shivered under the long night of its home star. Perhaps it circled peacefully for ages until something changed. How interstellar objects are born. When a star is young, its cradle is chaotic. Planets grow from dust worlds, collide and shatter, and comets, those fragile snow-built travelers, are sculpted in the cold. Sometimes, two young planets brush too close. Sometimes a massive world sends a smaller one flying. And sometimes a comet, small, patient, innocent, is caught in forces larger than itself and is thrown outward, out of the system entirely. A gentle exile, a drifting seed cast into the dark, and once expelled, it becomes a wanderer, a long-distance traveler with no home but the stars themselves. The Atlas was once such a comet. It had a birthplace, a home star, a sky under which it first formed. And then by chance or by force, it was cast out, left to roam interstellar space for millions or billions of silent drifting years. It never hurried. It never sought a destination. It simply moved, carried by the momentum of its exile, crossing the great galactic night like a small spark floating through endless water. The predecessors, Oumuamua and Borisov, before 3I Atlas arrived, two other travelers passed through our solar system. The first was Oumuamua, a slim, elongated object whose behavior defied easy explanation. It spun strangely. It brightened in ways we didn't expect. It left no tail, no visible gas, no familiar signature of a comet. Oumuamua was like a shard of something ancient, a cosmic splinter carried across the galaxy. The second was Borisov, clear, unmistakably comet-like. It produced dust gas and a glowing tail that stretched like a cold breath behind it. Borisov was simpler, clearer, a near-perfect example of a comet from another star. And then came the third visitor, 3I Atlas, not a shard, not a classic comet, but something in between, something unusual, gentle, and beautifully mysterious. It would be easy to think of these objects as rare, but more likely, they pass through often silent travelers, unnoticed in the glare of sunlight. It is only now, with our growing eyes toward the sky, that we begin to see them. Discovery of 3I Atlas. Its story within our solar system began with a glimmer on the horizon of space. The Atlas Observatory in Chile, a quiet sentinel, scanning the sky for faint movement, recorded a point of light that did not behave like the others. Its path was not curved like the planets, nor looping like a long-period comet. It was moving too fast, too straight, on a path that bent outward instead of inward. A hyperbolic orbit, the unmistakable signature of something not bound to the sun, something passing through from elsewhere. At first, it was little more than a flicker, a pixel's worth of brightness on a background of velvet black. But slowly, as more telescopes turned their eyes toward it, its identity sharpened. This was no ordinary comet. And soon, the name 3 Atlas became the newest whisper in astronomy. Entering the solar system, as it drifted inward, the faint warmth of the sun began to stir the ice within the object. Not quickly, not dramatically, but softly, like breath-thawing frost on a winter window. A thin coma began to form a cloud of gas and dust surrounding a nucleus we could not yet see. It brightened gently, its glow growing like the soft flare of a distant candle. From the ground, telescopes across the world watched the slow transformation. Every night brought a little more light, a little more shape. The object was waking, stretching after its long journey in the cold. Its tail lengthened, its coma thickened, and with every new observation, curiosity grew. But the most surprising discoveries were yet to come. Fresh updates. The golden section, observation from Mars. Not long ago, in the quiet days just before this script was written, a new stream of data arrived. Not from Earth, but from Mars. The ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter, circling the red planet with patient precision, turned its instruments toward 3 Atlas. This was the first time in history that an interstellar object was observed from the vantage point of another world. From its position unburdened by Earth's atmosphere, the orbiter tracked the comet with astonishing accuracy, better by a factor of 10 than any measurement made from home. It was as though Mars held up a lantern to illuminate the path of this wandering traveler. The object's motion became clearer, its trajectory sharpened. And with this clarity came new questions. Its unexpected survival. Most comets, especially those with delicate interstellar histories, break apart when they pass near the sun. Heat fractures them. Tidal forces tear them gently, inevitably, into clouds of dust. But 3I Atlas did not fracture. It held together, quietly, steadily, mysteriously. This survival suggested strength, either in its core or in some hidden layer protecting it. A resilience carried across the stars. The anti-tail. Then came the images that surprised astronomers even more. A faint structure appeared, extending toward the sun, instead of away from it, a rare phenomenon called an anti-tail. It happens only in unusual geometric conditions, when dust reflects light in a way that fools the eyes, making the tail appear to point sunward. Rare, beautiful, and perfectly fitting for a visitor like this. Speculation softly held. And somewhere in the chorus of voices, a familiar name emerged. Avi Loeb, known for bold questions about interstellar objects, suggested gently, cautiously, that artificial origins, while unlikely, could not be fully dismissed. But in the halls of science, the consensus remained calm and quiet. Natural explanations were far more probable. Still, curiosity is natural, and sometimes curiosity is simply the shape that wonder takes. A hidden nucleus. As 3I Atlas continues to glow, its nucleus remains unseen, locked inside a thick, soft coma that shields it from view. We do not know its shape. We do not know its surface. We do not know its scars, its valleys, its fractures. All of it is wrapped in a cloud of ancient material. If Oumuamua was a shard and Borisov a bright comet, then 3I Atlas feels like a sealed box, a quiet mystery wrapped in frost. And so the night drifts onward. The nucleus remains hidden, a small secret heart of ancient ice wrapped in a cloud of its own breath. And because we cannot see inside this soft shroud, we turn to the next clue. Its chemistry, the strange, delicate balance of gases and dust released as it warms. The coma expands like a luminous cocoon, glimmering faintly against the darkness. And within that glow lie the signs that 3I Atlas is unlike any comet ever studied before. Slowly, softly, the story deepens. A comet that breathes in unfamiliar ratios. When a comet approaches the sun, its ices sublimate, turning straight from solid to get the same way frost vanishes from a window touched by a child's breath. Most comets, especially those born in the cold outskirts of our solar system, release water vapor as their dominant signature. H2O is the familiar scent of our local comets, the quiet exhale of worlds born under our own star. But 3 Atlas does not follow this rule. Instead, its breath is rich with carbon dioxide, far richer than expected. CO2 flows from it in abundance, outpacing water by a factor of 8, sometimes more. 8 parts carbon dioxide for 1 part water. A ratio so unusual that scientists paused, rechecked their numbers, and then paused again. Because comets that release more CO2 than H2O are rare, even in our own system. And yet, here was a visitor from another star, breathing a signature that felt both alien and strangely familiar, like a song played in a different key. And then another surprise emerged. Within its light, in the soft spectrum of its coma, astronomers detected nickel, not in the usual form, not paired with iron as nickel almost always is in cosmic materials, but isolated, standing alone, a whisper of metal with no companion. It is as though the comet carries traces of worlds where chemistry unfolded in a rhythm unlike the one we know. A rhythm shaped by a distant star's childhood and preserved across billions of drifting years. Faint hints of organics were also detected, soft signatures of complex molecules that dance delicately in the void. None of this makes 3I Atlas unnatural. None of it suggests anything artificial. But all of it, every ratio, every molecule makes it different. Different from Borisov, whose chemistry mirrors the comets of our own system. Different from Oumuamua, whose silent, tailless passing mystified everyone. Different from everything we have ever seen. A frost-veiled messenger with its own quiet song, tracing its origin, the thick disk story. If you were to take its trajectory today, its path through the solar system, its speed, its direction, and slowly, very slowly, trace it backward through the galaxy, you would discover something remarkable. It points not to the thin disk of the Milky Way, where our sun resides amid spiraling arms of bright, youthful stars. Instead, the trail leads to an older region, the thick disk, a place of ancient stars formed when the galaxy was younger, metal-poor, wilder. Stars there contain fewer heavy elements. Worlds formed in those systems may follow patterns unfamiliar to us, their materials shaped by different furnaces, different histories, different cosmic storms. To think that 3I Atlas may have been born in that older, quieter part of the galaxy is to imagine a comet older than Earth itself, older than the oceans, older than the continents, older perhaps than the sun. It would mean that before our planet cooled, before life stirred, before the first breath of a living cell was drawn on Earth, this little wanderer was already traveling through the dark, a time traveler older than the blue planet that now watches it drift past. It has seen no worlds, no suns, no storms for uncounted ages. Only darkness, only silence, only the slow, uninterrupted journey across interstellar night. And now, just once it passes near our star in the briefest of encounters before continuing its ancient voyage. Comparing the interstellar trio with 3 interstellar visitors now known, a pattern begins to emerge, a quiet constellation of cosmic personalities. Oumuamua, the cosmic splinter, long and thin, mysterious, in its silence, leaving no trace of gas or dust as it tumbled through sunlight. Borisov, the cosmic snowball, classic and familiar, breathing out gas and dust in a way that made astronomers feel as though they were looking at a comet from their own solar system. And now 3I Atlas, the cosmic frost-veiled messenger with its soft coma, its hidden nucleus, its unfamiliar breath, its rare anti-tail, its quiet resilience near the warmth of the sun. 3 visitors, 3 stories, 3 shapes of mystery. And scientists know there will be more. Space is full of wanderers. We are only just beginning to see them. Public reactions, alien theories versus science. Whenever an object arrives from beyond the solar system, public imagination awakens. People wonder, speculate, whisper in online spaces. Could it be a probe? Is it a signal? Is someone out there trying to say hello? These questions rise naturally, not out of fear, but out of the deep human habit of wondering what lies beyond the map. Scientists respond calmly, as they always do, with quiet voices and measured words. Unlikely, unnecessary. Natural explanations fit the data far better. And they do. Nature is capable of creating wonders more intricate than anything our minds have yet imagined. But curiosity persists gently, like a child sitting awake at night, wondering about distant places they have never seen. Fear is often curiosity wearing a heavier coat. But beneath it, there is only wonder, a desire to understand, to feel connected to the larger universe. And interstellar objects remind us how big that universe truly is. secrets that Three-Eye Atlas keeps. Every comet holds secrets, but interstellar comets hold entire histories within their fragile forms. Three Atlas carries secrets woven into its nucleus, a nucleus we cannot see hidden beneath its own luminous haze. What shape does it have? Is it round, elongated, fractured from ancient collisions? We do not know what lies on its surface. A crust of darkened ice, a skin of dust hardened by millions of years in the cold. We do not know what elements rest deep within it, untouched since its birth in another star's outskirts. We do not know, and yet we know enough to feel its strangeness. The CO2 whisper, the lonely nickel, the faint organics, the resilient survival after its close pass by the sun. A handful of small clues to a story preserved for eons in silence. This unbroken mystery is not frustrating. It is calming. A reminder that the universe does not owe us every answer, and that some beauty lies in not knowing. Meaning and philosophy. Interstellar driftwood. Astronomers sometimes describe interstellar objects as driftwood, pieces of distant shores cast out by cosmic tides, washed across the galaxy until they reach us by chance. There is something comforting in that metaphor. It reminds us that we too are drifting not aimlessly but naturally, carried by the quiet currents of a universe far older and far gentler than our fears. We are small, yes, but smallness is not insignificance. Smallness is simply a place within the whole, like a grain of sand on a shore, or a star in a spiral arm, or a comet wandering between suns. Knowledge can be gentle. Science can be soothing. Understanding can relax us instead of overwhelming us. And Three Atlas, faint trembling, glowing, reminds us that not everything must be solved to be meaningful. Some things simply pass by, leaving us quieter than before. A timeline of light. October, November, December. October brought its perihelion, its closest moment to the sun. A brush of warmth across its ancient surface. Not enough to break it, just enough to wake it. November hid it from us, tucking it behind the sun's glare where no telescope on Earth could follow. A month of darkness, a month of absence, a month of quiet mystery as it traveled unseen. December brings it back, not too bright, not too bold, but close, closer than ever. The softest visitor passing by our blue world for the briefest moment. And after that, January will take it away again, fading it back into the distance, back into the vast silence from which it came. A gentle arrival, a gentle passing, a gentle farewell that is not really a farewell, just a continuation of a journey older than human time, and somewhere ahead, another story waits to unfold. January returns it to darkness, but before we follow Three-Eye Atlas into that widening quiet, let us stay with it a little longer here in the soft glow of its passing and explore what its fate means for science, for us, and for the quiet wonder that hums beneath the night. The comet moves steadily now, sliding along its hyperbolic path, untethered, unbound, a guest that will never circle back. Its visit is not a loop, not a cycle, not a story that repeats. It is a single crossing, a single moment, a single whisper of motion through the pages of our cosmic history. And like all passing moments, it invites us to breathe in and breathe out, slowly, letting the vastness settle gently around us. The fate of 3 Atlas, the one-time visitor. Most comets belong to the Sun. Even when their orbits stretch across decades or centuries or millennia, they are still part of the solar system's quiet heartbeat. They leave, then return. A long inhale, a long exhale. But 3I Atlas is different. Its path bends open like a door left ajar to the infinite night. It is not returning. Its orbit is not a loop, but a line that enters the solar system from a distant direction, passes through like a gentle guest, and exits toward another corner of the galaxy we will never see. The Sun's gravity tugged on it. Yes, a soft pull, a small shift, but not enough to capture it, not enough to bring it into the family of objects that belong to our star. And so once 3I Atlas leaves, it leaves forever. There is something bittersweet in that. Not sad, just quietly fleeting, like watching a lantern float down a river until it becomes another star in the distance. We live in a moment of deep time where such a visitor appears. A moment so brief that if humanity blinked, if civilization were younger or older by a few thousand years, we might have missed it entirely. But we did not miss it. We saw it, we measured it, we learned from it, and for a short, soft window of nights, it shared its presence with us. These once-in-a-lifetime encounters remind us that the universe, despite its enormous stretches of silence, is still full of surprise, still full of motion, still full of chance, meetings between worlds and wanderers. And 3I Atlas continues on carrying its secrets far beyond the borders of our knowing. The legacy, what the wanderer leaves behind. Even as it fades, 3I Atlas leaves something behind. Not dust, not debris, not trails of gas that linger in the vacuum. Those will disperse quickly, lost to the void. Instead, it leaves a quieter legacy, data, insight, questions, and a gentle sense of perspective. A legacy of understanding. The measurements from telescopes on Earth combined with the extraordinary tracking from the Mars Trace Gas Orbiter will feed the minds of scientists for years to come. Its strange mixture of CO2 and water, its faint organics, its solitary nickel, its unexpected survival near the sun, its rare anti-tail, all of these details become small threads woven into the growing tapestry of our understanding of interstellar objects. The next Comet Interceptor mission, perhaps decades from now, may use 3I Atlas as a model, a reference, a stepping stone toward preparing for the next visitor or the one after that, a legacy of inspiration. There is also the legacy that doesn't fit into charts or papers, the inspiration. Somewhere, a young listener might hear this story and wonder, perhaps for the first time, what lies beyond the stars. Somewhere, a student might decide to study astronomy or planetary science or physics because a small interstellar wanderer sparked something quiet and beautiful inside them. Stories like this sink into the imagination like soft seeds, germinating slowly, often unnoticed until the day they bloom into curiosity, creativity, or understanding, a legacy of perspective. And then there is the legacy that touches us, all the reminder that we are part of a much larger story. A comet that formed in the outskirts of another star, traveled for billions of years, and passed near our world for only a moment, offers a humbling sense of scale, not to diminish us, but to place us gently within the cosmos. To remind us that our world is one shore among countless unseen coasts. And when the wanderer drifts away, it leaves behind a quiet comfort that discovery is still happening even now, even in our lifetimes, even in the quiet dark beyond the glare of daytime. The drift into distance, a closing lullaby without an ending. Now, imagine 3E Atlas as it begins its long, slow exit. It moves away from the sun, its coma cooling its gases, settling back into stillness. The glow dims not abruptly, but gently, as though someone is slowly turning a cosmic dimmer switch. The tail that once streamed behind it fades into nothing. The anti-tail, that strange sunward stretch, melts back into the darkness. The coma shrinks. The frost quiets. The nucleus, still unseen, continues its journey, wrapped in secrecy. Soon, no telescope on Earth will be able to see it. Not because it disappears, but because it travels farther than our instruments can reach, farther than our eyes can follow, farther into the quiet. And yet it keeps going, not toward anything, not away from anything, just moving, because that is what wanderers do. It may drift for millions of years before passing near another star, or it may drift for billions touching nothing, meeting no worlds, remaining unseen. Its path is a ribbon unspooling into eternity. Its purpose is simply movement. Its story is simply existence. And in that simplicity, there is peace. A peace we can borrow for a few breaths as we imagine it gliding through the night on a trajectory older than life itself. The beauty of not knowing. There is a gentle truth hidden in objects like 3I Atlas. We do not need all the answers for a story to be meaningful. We do not need to know its exact birthplace, its precise shape, its inner structure, its full history. We do not need to unravel every secret. Sometimes, mystery itself is a comfort, a reminder that wonder still exists in a world that often feels too mapped, too measured, too explained. Let the comet keep its secrets. Let it drift into darkness, still wrapped in questions. Because questions too can be a kind of lullaby. They rock us gently between curiosity and calm, between knowing and dreaming, between science and silence. And so as 3i Atlas fades into the unseen, its story does not end. It simply becomes quieter, softer, more dreamlike, more a feeling than a fact. The silence widens and we follow. The silence widens and we follow. We follow the faint traveler as it slips farther from the warmth of the sun, back into the deep unlit ocean of interstellar space. Its glow dims until it becomes a whisper, then a memory, and then a small, cold spark floating in the distance. But before it vanishes completely into that ancient dark, let us linger with it, not to solve it, not to grasp it, but to sit quietly beside its presence for a few more breaths and feel what it has left behind. Because even as it recedes, 3i Atlas continues to drift through the gentle chambers of the mind. It asks no questions. It gives no warnings. It simply exists, allowing us to rest in the space between knowing and dreaming. And so our story drifts deeper into reflection, into quiet meaning, into the soft philosophy of distant worlds. A slow meditation on time. Time in the human world moves with urgency. Clocks tick, calendars fill, days blur into years. But for a wanderer like 3i Atlas, time has no such weight. It is not measured by seasons or schedules, routines, or deadlines. Instead, time is simply the distance between starlight and shadow. Imagine a single grain of cometary ice formed in a region so cold that sunlight was only a rumor. This grain gathered dust, frost tiny fragments from earlier stars that lived and died long before the Earth took shape. Imagine that grain drifting outward slowly until a collision, gentle by cosmic standards, nudged it free. It began its long fall into the deep galactic night. 1,000,000 years passed, then 10 million, then 100. The grain became a nucleus. The nucleus became a comet. The comet wandered. And all this time, while empires rose and fell on Earth, while oceans formed and shifted, while continents drifted apart, 3i Atlas continued its silent arc across a universe too vast to comprehend. Its journey reminds us that slowness is not stagnation, that movement can be steady, soft, almost imperceptible, and still carry meaning. that even after billions of years, a quiet traveler can find its way into the warm circle of another star, and then leave again, not with drama, but with grace. The unseen shape, a mystery wrapped in light. To this day, no one has seen the true body of 3I Atlas. Its nucleus remains hidden deep within its coma, like a pearl wrapped in mist. Did it form in smooth layers? Is it jagged from ancient collisions? Is it compact and strong or fragile and porous, holding itself together by delicate cohesion alone? We do not know, and that unknowing feels strangely peaceful, like looking at a lantern through fog, not needing to know the exact shape of the candle within. The coma, the glowing envelope of dust and gas, acts like a soft veil preserving the nucleus's privacy. As if the traveler carries its secrets gently, the way a seed pod carries the promise of a tree within a husk. We don't need a perfect image to appreciate its presence. The glow itself is an answer, a sign that something ancient is breathing in the sunlight for the first time in eons, and then breathing out again slowly as it fades. A quiet universe filled with wanderers. Astronomers often describe the interstellar medium as empty. But emptiness in the language of the cosmos is not absence, but possibility. For every star that forms, countless pieces of material are flung outward. Dust becomes planets. Ice becomes comets. Fragments become wanderers with no home, no orbit, no predictable path. These wanderers fill the night like spores drifting on a cosmic wind. Some will pass through the outskirts of star systems, silent and unobserved. Some will collide with massive worlds and vanish in an instant. Some will travel until the heat of a nearby sun wakes their icy cores and gives them a fleeting glow. And a few, a very small few, will pass close enough to Earth that we notice them. Oumuamua, Borisov, Atlas. 3 soft hints of a much larger population, like seeing only 3 fish in a vast unseen river. We have likely missed millions of others, most too faint, or too distant, or too fast for our instruments to catch. And that too brings comfort. The universe is more alive, more dynamic, and more filled with quiet motion than our brief vantage point can reveal. We live in a small clearing within a vast forest, catching only glimpses of the travelers that pass by. A moment of cosmic proportion. Being alive now. Consider this. If humanity had developed telescopes 1,000 years earlier, we might have missed 3I Atlas entirely. If we discovered astronomy 1,000 years later, we would also have missed it. We are alive at the right moment, the only moment when this particular comet crosses our sky. It is a reminder that cosmic timing is delicate, unexpected, and profoundly beautiful. We live in an era when technology can detect a grain of ice from another star as it glides through the night. We live in an era when spacecraft orbit other planets and quietly track interstellar visitors from afar. We live in an era when data flows like a soft river between worlds, carrying stories of objects that would otherwise remain whispers in the dark. And even though the universe is enormous beyond imagination, we still find ourselves connected to it. Briefly, meaningfully, beautifully, through objects like 3-Eye Atlas. There is quiet wonder in that, a kind of cosmic gratitude. The comet's final dimming, a retreat into shade. Now, picture 3-Eye Atlas as it moves farther from us. Its tail fades first. The dust no longer pushed by sunlight into a glowing stream. The coma shrinks. Gas stops flowing. The faint halo of light contracts inward until only the nucleus remains, still unseen but steady. The sun becomes a pale spark behind it, no brighter than any other star. Heat diminishes. Motion slows, not because of resistance, but because distances stretch so enormously in the galactic night that movement becomes almost imperceptible. The comet cools, darkens, settles. It returns to the same deep cold from which it once emerged, a cold so profound that molecules hardly move, and time itself feels unchanging. In that deep freeze, 3-Eye Atlas becomes what it has been for billions of years, a small, ancient archive of a star system we will never see, not dead, not dormant, simply waiting without needing anything at all. And in that waiting, there is serenity. The serenity of objects that exist outside our urgency, outside our noise, outside the rush of the human world, a whisper of permanence in a temporary visit. Its visit to the solar system is fleeting, a blink, a moment, a shimmering brushstroke across the night. And yet for us, that brief encounter will linger. Astronomers will study it for decades. Students will read about it long after it has faded into immeasurable distance. Stories will be told about the third interstellar visitor, the one with the soft coma and the mysterious chemistry and the unexpected resilience. Its tail may vanish, but its lessons will not. Its glow may dim, but its presence will remain a quiet reference point in the expanding map of our cosmic understanding. The comet drifts away, but the story stays. Just as all stories do not fixed in stone, but living softly in the minds of those who hear them. And as we follow that story into the last corridors of this gentle night, the dream doesn't end, it only deepens. The dream doesn't end, it only deepens. As 3-Eye Atlas drifts farther into the quiet, we drift with it, not in distance, but in feeling. The comet becomes smaller now, not because it has changed, but because the space around it grows larger, darker, more endless, with every passing moment. Even as telescopes lose sight of it, even as the faint halo dims into a grain of invisible cold, Its story continues to unfold in the tender hush of this night. There is still more to explore, not in the comet's chemistry, nor in its orbit, nor in the technical traces it leaves behind, but in what it means for those who witness it. Because in the end, 3I Atlas is not just a comet. It is a mirror reflecting our smallness, our curiosity, our sense of wonder, our longing for connection in a universe so wide that silence becomes its own kind of sound. And so we follow the wanderer into the soft, final chapters of its passing. A gentle philosophy of distance. Distance is one of the universe's oldest languages. Stars speak in light that takes thousands of years to arrive. Galaxies converse through gravity across unthinkable spans. And comets, small, fragile, drifting, tell stories through their silence as they move far from their home stars. Atlas speaks through distance too, not with urgency, not with message or mission, but with presence. By simply existing, it teaches us something difficult to learn in the hurried world, that not everything we encounter is meant to stay. Some things pass through. Some things drift by and are gone. Some moments are beautiful because they are temporary, just like this visitor, just like this night. The comet reminds us that meaning does not require permanence. It only requires awareness. A single glance can hold a universe. A single observation can echo for decades. A single interstellar object can change the way we think about the vastness around us. Distance does not diminish meaning, it shapes it. And 3I Atlas continues to drift, teaching this lesson softly with every fraction of a mile it travels into the dark. What the comet carries: memories without memory. Consider what lies inside the hidden nucleus of 3I Atlas. Not memories as humans know them, not images, not thoughts, not recollections, but history. History locked in ice. History written in dust. History preserved in structure. The layers of its body carry chemical signatures of the cloud it formed in. Its fractures record the collisions it endured when its home system was young. Its composition reflects the abundance of elements around its birth star. Even the ratio of its frozen gases holds clues to the temperature and distance from its ancient sun. It carries history without knowing it. It contains stories without telling them. And yet, by passing near our star, it allowed us to glimpse those frozen pages for just a moment. We do not need to hear a voice to understand a message. We do not need to decode a signal to feel a presence. We do not need a spoken language to learn from an interstellar visitor. The comet teaches us through stillness, through chemistry, through motion, through absence. It is a quiet archive of a world we will never see. A tiny museum of a distant star's childhood drifting across the galaxy with no goal except to exist. There is something deeply comforting in that simplicity. The human heart in the cosmic scale. Every few decades, a moment happens that widens the human sense of scale. A new planet is discovered. A distant galaxy is mapped. A gravitational wave whispers through detectors on Earth. And sometimes, a comet from another star passes close enough for us to notice its glow. These are not grand events in the unfolding of the cosmos. They do not reshape galaxies. They do not change the fates of stars. But they reshape us. They remind us that we are part of something larger than any horizon we have ever seen. To look at 3I Atlas is to feel both small and connected, a paradox that brings a quiet peace. Smallness is not fragility. It is belonging. Belonging to a universe that is vast enough to hold mysteries and gentle enough to reveal them one whisper at a time. The comet moves on and we stay here. But the feeling that stirs in the human heart when we think of its journey that stays with us long after the object itself is gone from view. Earth seen from a comet's journey. If 3E Atlas had eyes, which of course it does not, the solar system would look simple, soft, and glowing. The sun would flare into a bright star among billions, its warmth more an idea than a sensation. The planets would drift like dim beads of light on thin, scattered threads. Earth, from that perspective, would be tiny. A pale dot wrapped in blue haze. A single moment of color in a sea of quiet darkness. And from that distant view, everything we know, every forest, every ocean, every home, every voice, every heartbeat would shrink into one blue spark. Nothing more, nothing less. Not insignificant, just small, and in its smallness beautiful. Sometimes it takes a visitor from another star to remind us of that beauty, to help us look at our own world with softer eyes, to see Earth as a fragile glow worth cherishing, worth caring for, worth noticing. Even a comet can offer perspective, especially a comet that has wandered longer than Earth has existed. The comet as driftwood, a final reflection. Interstellar objects are often compared to driftwood pieces of distant shores carried by unknown tides until they wash onto beaches far from where they began. 3I Atlas is driftwood from a place we will never walk, a fragment of a shoreline that vanished before Earth was born. It floated here not by intention, but by the quiet randomness that governs the motion of the cosmos. And like driftwood washed onto a nighttime shore, it carries the faint textures of storms we did not witness, and worlds we will never see. There is a softness in that metaphor, a reminder that even in a universe so large and so indifferent to our timelines, beauty still finds its way to us in quiet, drifting forms. 3I Atlas does not belong here. It merely passed through long enough for us to notice, long enough to learn, long enough to wonder. And now it returns to the tides that cast it out in the first place. Not lost, not gone, just drifting, forever drifting. Into the dark, the comet disappears. Imagine the moment when even the largest telescopes can no longer detect it. A threshold is crossed. A final glimmer fades. The last photon reflected from its icy surface fails to reach our instruments. From that moment on, 3I Atlas becomes invisible to human eyes, not because it ceases to exist, but because it moves beyond the reach of our illumination. Yet we know it is still there, not lost, not broken, not halted, just continuing on a path written by ancient gravitational whispers from stars long extinguished. It drifts into a region of space where no sunlight reaches, where temperatures fall to near absolute stillness, where motion is so gentle it feels like the universe is holding its breath. And in that darkness, the comet becomes itself again. Not a spectacle, not a data point, not an event, but simply a small, quiet traveler continuing a journey that does not need a destination. The night drifts onward. The night drifts onward. And as it does, the silence around 3I Atlas thickens in the most delicate way. Not heavy, not oppressive, but soft like fresh snow settling on an untouched field. It slips farther from our star, past the outer paths of the planets, past the thin, pale regions where sunlight becomes little more than a memory. What remains of its brightness belongs now to the darkness, a darkness that has held it longer than any world, any system, any moment of warmth ever could. But before the comet fades into the realm where even imagination must strain to follow, let us stay with it for just a little longer. Not to hold it, but to walk beside it as long as the night allows. Because part of the story still waits quietly, the part that brings us back to ourselves. A soft return to the listener's world, even while the comet travels into unreachable distances. Its presence doesn't leave us. It lingers in the mind, in the breath, in the gentle stillness gathered from this long, slow journey. Stories about distant worlds always return us to our own, not because Earth is central, but because it is home. 3I Atlas reminds us that home can be small and still matter deeply, that a fragile blue sphere floating in a vast black ocean can still be a cradle of wonder. We carry this sense not in facts, but in feeling, the way a quiet night carries the echo of day long after sunset. And in this feeling, there is rest. The comet's journey as a reflection of ours. All wanderers, comet stars. People move through cycles of approach and distance, warmth and cold, presence and absence. We drift. We evolve. We pass through different regions of our own lives. Some moments glow like perihelion close to the sun. Some move into shadow, hidden, quiet, unseen. Some paths loop back, bringing us to familiar places. Others open outward, leading us into the unknown, with no promise of return. And just like 3I Atlas, we do not always know where we began or where we are going. We only know that we are moving slowly softly through the unfolding of time. This is not frightening. It is gentle. It is natural. It is the rhythm every wanderer shares. The universe does not rush. It does not demand. It simply flows. And we too are part of that flow. The beauty of being a witness. In the great sweep of cosmic time, human existence is brief. A blink, a breath, a shimmer of light between two vast nights. But within that moment, we witness things that were once invisible. We witness stars being born through telescopes that peer across millions of years. We witness galaxies collide in slow, silent dances. We witness tiny particles rise and fall in the quantum currents of the world beneath our senses. And now we witness interstellar travelers gliding through our sunlit neighborhood. Objects older than Earth, older than the oceans, older than everything we have ever known. To witness is a quiet kind of participation. It does not change the comet's path. It does not alter its chemistry. But witnessing changes us. It expands the map of what we believe is possible. It widens the inner horizon that each of us carries. And in that widening, there is peace. Learning to drift with the cosmos. Most of life teaches us to strive to push to act with purpose. But 3i Atlas teaches a different lesson, the beauty of drifting. Not drifting without care, but drifting without force. Trusting momentum, trusting direction, trusting the quiet pull of the universe's patience. A comet does not hurry. It does not cling. It does not worry about where it is going. It simply follows the path carved by the gravity of worlds it never sees and stars it never touches. Its journey is not passive. It is graceful. To drift is not to be lost. It is to move in harmony with everything around you. There is a soft encouragement in that truth, a reminder that you too are allowed to rest, to slow, to breathe, to drift a little in your own life without fear of falling behind. The universe is wide. There is room for gentle motion, a universe that moves slowly enough to sleep inside. When we imagine space, we often picture motion objects racing, spinning, exploding, colliding. But for all its drama, most of the universe moves slowly enough for sleep. Planets orbit over months. Stars burn for billions of years. Galaxies drift like clouds of light. And comets, especially those born in other systems, glide with a pace that could lull the cosmos itself. If you could rest on the surface of 3i Atlas and look outward, you would not feel movement. You would feel stillness. A deep, ancient stillness that has existed since the earliest days of the galaxy. This is the stillness we borrow tonight. The stillness that lets the breath deepen, the heartbeat soften, the mind loosen its grip on worries that do not belong to this hour. There is room in the quiet to let yourself be carried. The last light, a gentle unfolding into silence as 3i atlas fades, its story narrows into light so faint that it tests the edge of perception. A single photon here, a single grain of reflected sunlight there, like tiny lanterns drifting across a midnight lake. Eventually, those lanterns dim, not abruptly, not dramatically. They simply lessen until they melt into the dark, each one absorbed by the vastness that surrounds all wanderers. But the dark is not empty. It is full of soft, ancient echoes, memories of worlds unborn, scattered particles of forgotten stars, the quiet hum of cosmic background light. Into that dark three-eye atlas folds itself gently as a falling feather, as quiet as deep snowfall, as patient as time itself. And though we cannot follow, we can imagine with breath, slow with mind, soft with heart, open what it feels like to journey into that endless, embracing night. Echoes for future generations. Long after this night, long after the comet vanishes from every chart and ephemeris, its lessons will remain. Perhaps in a lecture hall, a professor will speak of the strange ratios of CO2 and water. How unusual, how unexpected, how beautifully alien they appeared. Perhaps in a future mission briefing, engineers will reference the data gathered from Mars's orbit, a milestone in astronomy, the first interstellar object observed from another world. Perhaps in a quiet bedroom years from now, a listener drifting into sleep will remember that there was once a comet older than Earth that passed through our sky for a single moment in cosmic time. And perhaps somewhere in the distant future, another civilization on another world will detect their own interstellar traveler and wonder, as we do now, what stories it carries. The influence of three-eye atlas will ripple outward softly, silently, like gentle waves moving across a still lake. Its physical presence may fade, but its imprint will remain luminous. The silence widens and we follow. The silence widens and we follow. Follow into a region of the night where the voice of the comet becomes softer than breath, softer than the faintest starlight that touches the edge of the solar system. Even now, as its glow thins to almost nothing, the atlas is not gone. It moves with the quiet confidence of something that has always belonged to the dark, something that does not fear silence, because silence is the language it has spoken since birth. And as it journeys onward, we walk beside the story just a little farther until the final strands of this gentle tale unfurl like mist around a lantern's flame, a soft descent into the true night of space. The region three-eye atlas now enters is different from anything humans can easily imagine. Even the outermost planets are far behind it now. Jupiter's golden storms, Saturn's pale rings, Uranus and Neptune drifting like blue ghosts in the twilight of the sun. Beyond them lies a realm where sunlight no longer shines, but merely whispers a faint trace of warmth that barely brushes the surface of anything it touches. This is the deep frontier of the solar system. Not hostile, just indifferent, a place without motion or temperature, as we understand them. Dust drifts here like forgotten ash. Ancient comets freeze in orbit around no particular source. Space stretches not as emptiness, but as possibility. Into this soft, enormous expanse, 3E Atlas moves gracefully. Its tail, long dissolved, its coma shrinking its body, returning to the quiet it has known for billions of years. There is no fear in the dark, only calm, only return, a visitor's final glimmer. Every comet reaches a point where light fails to follow it, where even the most powerful telescopes lose their grip on the faint photons drifting from its icy skin. Atlas crosses that threshold now. One moment, we can still measure its glow, a tiny point of scattered light against the black. The next, it slips below detection, not abruptly, but like a candle lowered behind a curtain. It does not vanish. It simply moves beyond the reach of human sight. If we could see it from some impossible vantage point, if we could float beside it as it slips into true night, we would see nothing frightening, only stillness, a fragment of frost carved by ancient collisions, a silent relic of a forgotten star, a wanderer that drifts because drifting is the only path it has ever known. Its light becomes memory. Its presence becomes imagination. Its story becomes a soft echo that fades, but never fully disappears. The universe that breathes without sound. Even as the comet drifts outward, the universe around it remains vibrant, not noisy, but alive. Galactic magnetic fields curl like invisible rivers through endless dark. Cosmic rays move with the patience of centuries. Atoms scatter like pollen, carried by no wind at all. While planets spin and stars burn, the interstellar medium breathes in its own way. A breath without lungs, a rhythm without sound. 3I Atlas joins this silent breathing as naturally as a leaf joining the ocean. The cold between stars is not emptiness. It is a soft cradle waiting for travelers that never meant to be found. And tonight, you share in that cradle. You drift with it. You feel the vastness not as something overwhelming, but as something calming, a night so large that all worries dissolve before they can find shape. A lullaby of cosmic scale. If one could listen closely enough, closer than any instrument can hear, closer than silence itself, Atlas would sing the same lullaby it has carried since its birth, a lullaby of distance, a lullaby of patience, a lullaby of time measured not in years, but in starlight. It is the lullaby of an object that has never hurried, never claimed a destination, never sought anything except the continuation of its long, slow drift. In that lullaby, There is no beginning and no end, only movement, only calm, only the soft assurance that everything unfolds exactly at the pace it must. Human lives are brief, but the universe sings long songs. And sometimes, just for a moment, we hear one. 3I Atlas is one such moment, a verse in the grand quiet hymn of interstellar wanderers. The comet inside the listener. Stories about the cosmos often plant something small and luminous in the listener's mind, a seed not of knowledge alone, but of perspective. Perhaps tonight, a small piece of 3I Atlas settles within you. Not a fact, not a number, not a measurement, but a feeling. A feeling of space so wide and calm that your own thoughts fall into gentle alignment. A feeling of time so slow and patient that your own heartbeat finds its quiet rhythm. A feeling of distance that softens your worries, because even the farthest journeys are made one drifting moment at a time. The comet may be leaving the sun far behind, but within you, its presence remains. A small cold flame carried across billions of miles. A hush from another star. A reminder that your life too is part of a larger story, one written in soft strokes across the canvas of night. Returning once more to the beginning, as 3I Atlas disappears into the soft veil of interstellar dark, we return gently to the point where our night began. The mystery, the quiet, the calm, the breath. We remember the object as it approached a faint glimmer noticed by Atlas in Chile. A tiny spark that did not belong to our solar system. We remember how its coma formed, how its breath carried strange ratios, how its nucleus remained hidden and unknowable. We remember the exquisite data from Mars's orbit, the rare anti-tail, the astonishing survival near the sun. We remember the way curiosity rose, not sensational, not fearful, but quiet and wondering and deeply human. And we remember that the comet was here only briefly. A visitor, a wanderer, a guest. Yet, in its passing, it shaped our understanding of the universe in ways that will echo for generations. Sometimes the smallest things leave the longest impressions. Sometimes the faintest lights show the deepest truths. The final drift, a closing lullaby begins. And now, as the comet drifts beyond maps, beyond measurements, beyond the last whisper of the sun's distant glow, a new quiet emerges. A quiet not of loss, but of completion. Not of endings, but of release. The same way a soft snowfall covers a field and leaves the world a little gentler, a little quieter, a little more at peace. 3I Atlas drifts. You drift. The universe drifts. All in the same direction toward deeper calm, deeper quiet, deeper night. And somewhere ahead, another story waits to unfold. The dream deepens, but the story of Three-Eye Atlas gently comes to rest. Far beyond the orbit of the planets, beyond the pale glow where sunlight becomes a memory, the interstellar visitor continues its slow, steady drift back into the darkness it has always known. It no longer shines. It no longer forms a tale. It no longer carries the warmth of its brief encounter with our star. It simply moves quietly, patiently, as it has done for billions of years, long before Earth existed and long after we ceased to watch. In this soft, final stretch of its journey within our sight, the comet reminds us of something gentle, that not every visitor is meant to stay and not every story ends with answers. Some stories end with peace. Three-Eye Atlas keeps its secrets, its true shape, its hidden surface, the deep chemistry locked inside its frozen core, and the name of the ancient star from which it once began its long drift. But that is all right. The comfort of the cosmos is not in knowing everything. It is in knowing that we are allowed to rest inside the unknown. Now, as the comet fades beyond every telescope we have, it becomes smaller than a memory, a soft impression, a gentle echo floating through a night without edges. We will never see it again, not in a lifetime, not in the next 1,000, not in the next 1,000,000. Its path will never return it to the sun. Its arc through space is a single unbroken line, a line that touched our world only once. And that once is enough. For a brief moment in human history, we lived in an era when a wanderer from another star passed close enough for us to notice, close enough to learn, close enough to dream. And now, as it slips back into the vastness, it leaves behind a quiet legacy, data for future generations, inspiration for future explorers, perspective for all who look up and wonder how many other travelers are drifting out there now, still unseen, still unknown, still waiting for the right moment to glide past another unsuspecting world. The comet drifts away, and you drift with it, not outward into space, but inward into a calmer, softer place inside yourself. The night holds you gently, the world grows quiet, and the story of Three-Eye Atlas settles like a feather onto still water. Far from here in the silent ocean between stars, a tiny traveler fades, and the listener fades with it into a deeper rest. Good night. The comet drifts, and you drift with it.